Good morning, guys. Happy Saturday. So here we go again. Few things while we were sleeping. Couple of races called last night. They have now called Arizona for Mark Kelly that he beat Blake Masters. Of course, Trump is having conniptions about it, and here we go again. But this isn't a huge surprise. He's been up 5 points since Election Day, so that's quite a bit to come back. But yeah, Arizona, you are flipping blue. And I'll give it this. It's got to be because you have a lot of Californians moving there. That's the only thing I can think of. Simple as that. On the good side of things, in Nevada, Joe Lombardo kicked Steve Sisolak to the curb for governor. Sisolak is a dirtbag. He's one of the reasons that me and Mrs. P left Nevada when he got elected. I was like, we're out of here. He's going to destroy the state. And he proceeded to do so. And Nevadans finally said, yeah, this doesn't work. So, that's what happens when you get a corrupt, mob-tied governor in the governor's mansion. So, there we go. But just but that's not what I want to talk about this morning. But it's stuff that you need to know. Yesterday, as I was sitting outside in the pouring rain, monitoring my leaves going into the drain, and I got about a third of the pond full, guys. So the rain yesterday was not heavy by any means, but it was hard enough that I probably pumped in 50,000 gallons. So I'll take that. But I was sitting here just kind of looking at the property, looking at where my neighbors' houses were, and kind of trying to figure out the bigger picture to security, okay? Now, many of us have read many books or watched movies or whatever, and they kind of glaze it over a little bit on the security thing. 1 Second After is a book we talk about occasionally. And you had the whole town come together. I personally find that somewhat of a stretch because there's no way in the world just my area of my town is all going to come together. We're too diametrically opposite in what we believe. But the whole town came together and they were able to build a little military or whatever it was, train the kids and things like that. But how do you pull security? And, okay, watch the roads. That's easy, okay? In the book, they watched the highways, and that was where the posse came in. All right, no big deal. For me, there's only one road in, so that's really not too difficult. But I think about it, if I was out gallivanting around looking to cause mayhem, I'm not coming in where I'm expected to. I mean, that doesn't take rocket science to figure that one out. So I started looking at this and I go, okay, up the entire side of the mountain here, how are we going to protect this? Because again, you look at some of these books, and the John Wesley Rawls one I read a month or so ago when I was telling you about, all the people moved into one house together. That's not going to happen for most people. Okay, my neighbors aren't going to say, yeah, we'll abandon our house and come down and live in yours, and nor am I going to do it the other way. So that doesn't work. So now you've got to be able to figure out how to handle perimeter security, not only for your property, but for your entire mag. And again, now you start thinking about who's in your mag. You've got people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, feasibly 80s, 90s, okay? No offense, but sitting outside, walking a perimeter in a wheelchair is not probably going to be too effective, all right? So this is where you need to start looking at the capabilities of the people in your mag to perform security and how you're going to handle it. Now, there are some ways to do this. Cameras are a good one. But again, this is going to talk about multiple people. The cameras I have on my property will transmit about a quarter of a mile. Okay, no problem. That's not going to get me all the way to the top of the hill. So there's no way in the world we could centralize our security. So now what you got to talk about, and this is where communications comes in. You've got to have somebody monitoring the cameras at each particular property and somebody walking the perimeter at each particular property, at least one, plus in communication with each other. All right, and this is something that is important to talk about, is radios and how you're going to do it. I mean, if Mr. and Mrs. Mountaintop Preps are up top, okay, half a mile or whatever from me, and somebody comes in the back way over the mountain and starts attacking on them, if somebody's watching the camera, that's great. If there's one or two of them with weapons, that's great. But what if it's a 15-person squad that comes in and starts to attack? They need backup. If there's no way for them to get a hold of the rest of us down the hill and say, help, help, we're being overrun, get up here quick, the gang of marauders just starts moving down the hill, okay, or vice versa if it happens to me and I have no way to get a hold of them. You need to start looking at how you are going to coordinate amongst the people in your area. There's no doubt whatsoever, guys, that crime is going to get worse. And this has nothing to do with politics. Okay, well, maybe if you want to talk about the southern border being political. Okay, but there's no doubt that crime is going to get worse with the influx of illegals, with the people having a lack of money, not being able to afford things. I mean, come on. I live out in the middle of BFE and I had 2x4s stolen out of my garage before we had the doors on it, okay? 6 weeks into living here, I had fishing gear stolen out of my boat. I live in the middle of freaking nowhere, okay? Yet people still come out here and will take things. If you think that fishing equipment or 2x4s are all they're going to go after when they start getting hungry, you're sadly mistaken. Coordinating with your neighbors. It doesn't have to be talking about prepping or anything like that, but even sitting down and talking about, hey guys, if this crime wave gets worse, what's your plan? You know, how can we work together? Talk about it as like a neighborhood watch or something like that. But you know deep down where you're going with this. But what are your neighbors doing to protect themselves? And in regards, what are they going to be doing to protect you? How can you work together? That's something to work on. And again, it's a prep. Security is a huge prep. That doesn't cost any money. It just takes effort and opening that communication. And if somebody tells you, oh, crime isn't going to get worse, tell that to all the people who've been raped, who've been murdered, who've been robbed, etc., etc. Open up the news and show them a story every day about crime rates. Eventually, it's going to get to where you are. You can't stick your head in the sand forever. Have a good Saturday. Pinball out.